Dave here. How are you? Today is the 7th of January 2021. I hope the sound is coming through, the image is fine. I have changed the latency on the show today so that your image, what you see coming through, is almost live. So it'll be a very short time between putting comments and also coming through to me, or coming from me. Sound and vid, okay. Thanks, Paul. Good. All right, today on the show, it's going to be, I've been waiting for this show all week because I just get excited. I'm like a little kid at Christmas time. I've had trouble sleeping during the week, and it's not because anything's wrong in my life. It's because this insert panel for this box that I'm making is just so, can I say, beautiful. I can't wait till the next step, like put the oil on it, and, you know, after I did the inlay, all of that kind of stuff. It's, I'm having so much fun with it. All right, let's see what we got here. This week on the show, the backpack winner. I will save that for a little bit later on in the show, but if your first name starts with T, you're in with a chance. Okay, inlay, the Hue and Pine into the book matched Australian cedar lid, and I'll show you that soon. We've also got James Finger's Viewers Project. Thanks, Stephen. Thank you very much for that. And also Russell Hibbs from Tasmania, his wife, Annette Hibbs, who I'm hoping is watching right now, has sent something up to me which was way out of left field. My left is over there, so whatever. Anyway, I just was not expecting it. I'm blown away and humbled by the event. And also the panel raising bit for this lid. I'm going to go through using a panel raising bit. They are a very large cutter and they can be dangerous. So it's one of those things that we've got to be very aware of when we're using a larger cutter. What I'll do is I'll go down there first. We'll work on this panel raising bit first. Morning Dale, and morning John, and everyone else, Brendano and Paul, Dave Rollins, everyone. I hope you enjoyed Cole's show this morning as well, because that was something I really did want to watch, how he created those sliding dovetails for his, to support. I might do something in this box as well. When I point at this box, it's, this is the box. It's parts of it. We're gonna glue it up, and I'm going to show you some tricks and tips on the glue up as well. So here we go. We're going to switch over to the other camera, and fingers crossed for me, this other camera will work. Let's have a look. There it is, come across to you. Hooray! Now, this week, I need to explain something. Last week, people were saying, I'll come down here so you can see as well. Last week, people were saying that the camera was working on the CNC, but it wasn't. So what happens is the camera will remember, or the program will remember, the last image it saw before it died. And that's what will come up. So I had the camera actually over here at the router table, and it was showing a picture of it over at the CNC. So I explained that to a few people in the Zoom meeting, the Patreon Zoom meeting after. Now, I'm a very good person, and I use Cole's advice. And also one other thing I must say is, with my router table, this is a mechanical isolation point for the switch that I've got on the side here. I can turn this switch on and off. Nothing happens because this actually activates the switch inside. So whilst that's there, I can touch this. It's a big chap, isn't it? It's 2 3/4 inches across. That is a big cutter. Now I want to talk about it. First of all, okay, what we're going to do is give it a little bit of a scrub up here on the bearing, keep it nice and clean, and I'm going to put a tiny little bit of camellia oil in there. Just a touch. Come on. There we go. Got it. Only a little bit. I'm going to rub that in as well. All right. Now, I don't put a lot of the oil in there because I don't want oil going all over my timber, but that's great. Now, this cutter, it has a shearing action. So this blade, the tungsten blade, is leant over at the top 13 degrees. So that's all the way down, but it's instead of leaning backwards, This one leans forwards, so it's extremely good cutting end grain. Actually, it's extremely good cutting everything. I will put a link for this cutter in the description box below. I haven't done yet, but this one, man, oh man, this is such a nice cutter. And I'll explain as I'm going along why. Now, one of the other things, let me see if I can find the box for the cutter, because that always helps to explain a couple of things about it. All right, on. No, it's not on there. It's on the piece of paper that came with the box, and I'd love to be able to just say, here it is, but I haven't got it. It's saying that you have to set the router to a slower speed with a larger diameter cutter in your router table. Or any cutter that goes past an inch diameter, you then have to start turning the speed down. I'll come around a little bit further. Now we turn the speed down because in the middle, the rotation, the circumference is only small, but the circumference on the outside is huge. So it's be like a greyhound race or running a 400 metre and having to run in the outside lane all the way around. You know, it's a lot further. So this part out here is going to be flying at an unbelievable speed. So I've slowed this router down to around about 11,000 RPM instead of being 22 or 23,000, because these things can end up flying off if you're not careful. Right, now I've got my router table fence set up so I can bring this forward. Now I'm going to do that for two purposes. One's for dust extraction, which I'm very keen about. The other thing is I will eventually be pushing up against the bearing, but I'm going to bring the table forward. Now, the fence forward. Now the reason I'm doing this, rather than adjust the height up and down, I'm going to do my height adjustment at full height and then bring the fence forward in increments, or sorry, back it away from it, so that a little bit more of the cutter is exposed at a time. Now what I've done here is I've made sure that that part of the cutter there is flush with the table, because I don't want to have a dirty big slot here. I want this to be really nice. That's how I got the shape of this lid, and I'll show you soon. It's absolutely beautiful. And there's a couple of other things I'll talk about right now. And one thing is, if you lower the cutter down, particularly with a Triton router, be aware that inside here is a plastic cover for part of the locking mechanism that locks the spindle or the armature of the router. If you lower this down, be aware that you may contact that. So that's just something to do. Now, how do I know that? Because I did have it contacted and it cut a piece out of it. It was a bit scary when it happened, but I thought, you know, let you guys know, if you're going to lower it down, it might be an idea to get in there first with a hacksaw and cut that little bit of plastic. You're not going to affect the locking pin, but just that little bit of plastic. All right, so that's the heads up. Make sure you got plenty of room. I can't put any of my insert rings in here because this cutter is so large. Okay, let's start, and I'll show you how we're going to go. I use just a piece of board so I can see. I'll switch this around like so now. I'll come in a little bit further. I'm coming away from that bearing. I'm going to do this in around 3 passes. I'll lock that there. That's not going anywhere. I will put my eye muffs on and we'll do this cut. Then I'm going to come back over and check what's happening with the chat. So give me a minute. All right, I'll have a quick look, make sure that no one's saying, Dave, I can't see anything. Well, Kiwi 007, if you don't have one with a variable speed, don't use large cutters. That's all there is to it. See, these carbide things are not part of that. They're bonded to it. And you get the speed up and you're running the risk of it flying off. You know, what can I say? All right, I'll turn the dusty on. Now I can put this in. You can see the dust is getting pulled up straight away. Also, make sure that you've got plenty of clearance there. If you don't want to touch it with your hand, remember I've got this. If you don't want to touch it with your hand, move it around with a piece of wood. Make sure that it's going to be clear of the fences, the side parts of the fence. Now you will hear the difference in the speed when I start it up. You'll hear it start to want to go high, and then all of a sudden it'll just slow down. I'm going to make sure I've got push blocks as well for this. I'll just use the one push block on that, I think. Okay, have a listen to the speed now. Hear that? It's not really hammering, is it? All right, I've got my piece of timber. You can see I've done one already. I'm going to do another one here. Don't be tempted to push stuff out of the way if there's a bit of dust. Just blow on it with your mouth. You'll be fine. Okay, here I go. Good control with the push block. I'm going to come back a little bit. And turn her off. Now, one of the other things that you might say, Dave, why aren't you using feather boards or your just some clear-cut stock guides in here to hold it down instead of the push block? The reason being, this cutter is taking so much off the edge in the shape that as I'm going along, right at the end, they might push down even harder and roll the board. And then I've got a mess. Let's have a look at what just happened there. Okay, so that's my first pass. Now you might notice there is a tiny lip there, but I'm leaving myself a little bit for when I put inlay in and run it through the drum sander and do all the rest of the sanding. That will disappear. It's all done for a reason. Okay, so that's my first pass. I'll lift this back up, use my block there again. I'll come back to there, lock it, and we'll go again. Turn on the dusty. Now it's also a good idea to do the ends first. I'm going to do, I haven't even cut the other end at this stage because I'm just doing this as a demo. This will be a lid for another box eventually. All right, there we go. That's my second pass. Everything's super clean. And I'll do my last pass. So this is basically just checking that I'm just touching the bearing, I'm not coming past. That's the profile I'm after. You might think that I'm too close to the cutter as I'm going over the top. I'm pretty right. This has got a really large surface area point on it. Let's come down again. So you're looking straight at it. Okay, turn her on. Okay, now that is where I want it. Now the thing is, now I've got this thickness here. Now to get rid of that, that's when I lower this down even lower and just have this top, so I'll take this yellow part out again, so I'm very safe. So I lower that down. I'm not going to actually do it. I'll show you how it would look. So I'll lower it down. And that would leave, well, why not? I'll do the cut as well. This is something that you would measure. I've already set it up. So let's just do it at this stage. Now instead of instead of working on the top, I'm now going to work on the underside. And that's what I've done with my box. Okay, turn the dusty on again. Cool. And I can have a look there and see how much it's going to take off. Can you see it there? It works quite well. Here we go. Now you can see I've got that tiny profile there. What I'd do is I'd put a tape or a ruler on there and I'd go for 1/4 inch or 6 millimeters. 6.35 is actually 1/4, but I'd aim for that 1/4 inch because that's the size of the dado that I created in the side of the board. That will be the inside of the job. This will be the top of the job. All right. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to show you one last trick. I will raise it back up again till it's just lovely. I'll use my fine adjust. Nearly there. That's pretty good. I'll lock him there. I'll show you this. All right, give me a sec. I'm going to get this. Come back over to the camera. This is just a piece of radiata pine. I'm going to create that profile for about this much of it. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. Turn on this. And this time, we're just going to go flat out the full depth of the cut, because I don't think we're going to have a problem with it. Turn her on. About there. Stop. Take it off. There we go. That's the profile I've got. I'll take it over to the Capex and dock it off, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. All right, come back to the main camera. Where are we? There we go. Hey, Ab, how are you, sweetie? Okay. Can the bit be sharpened? Yes, it can be sharpened. I think RPM are too low. Well, I'm getting a beautiful result. Look. I'm getting a super clean result. The RPMs are fantastic. Now, why did I cut that last piece? I'll show you why. I'll grab the piece that I've just done. And so this is the piece I've just cut. And isn't it beautiful? And this is the end grain that I've done. So can never have too many rows, right? Exactly right. Yes, the bits can be sharpened. I use a company called Henry Brothers. They're over Windsor way, if you're in Sydney at all. I'm just setting this other camera up here. The reason being, let me have a look at the other camera. Yeah, about there. That looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to put a couple of clamps here. Let me see, what will I do? We're going fine for time. Beautiful. Slide this one down to there. And I'll use a little click clamp. on the other end, like so, and some 180 grit paper. I can tell it's 180 because it's got it written on the back. And now, you might notice that's the same. That's my sanding block. Now, you've got to tell me that's a clever trick. All right. So that's, the problem is, if you try and sand it with putting your thumb in there and going along like crazy, by the time you get it down to 4,000, you're going to see all these dents and everything. And your corners, what's going to happen, you won't get a crisp corner. It'll roll because you'll just go around the corner unwittingly. So you put that on there, and like so. And you must do it pushing down hard and back that direction. If you try and do it from the other side, if let's say I'm right-handed, this is the way I do it. If I was left-handed, I'd work from the other side. What do you think of that? All right. Okay, so that's basically enough of the chat about the panel raising cutter. There are a couple of things that I thought you might be interested in knowing, and obviously the profile on my panel raising cutter is slightly different to others. You might find that if you've got a stepped panel, you may not be able to do that little trick. You may not be able to do it, but it works with the cutter that I use. And as I say, I'll throw a link up after the show. But that's magic. All right, now on to, I'm going to show you the panel that I've made during the week. So this is it. And isn't the figure in that Australian cedar absolutely beautiful? So this has been book matched, and the hue and pine inlay, and you might remember that I put it back on the CNC and took it out. I took that inlay out and redid it. Let me see if I've got a little bit of action for you. Now I did that because my corners, the miters, were rubbish, and I actually used some filler in it, and I was embarrassed about the miters. So then how did I get these miters coming up really, really nicely? Well, I took one of my subscribers' advice. He said, Dave, put 2 pieces of your infill or inlay at either end. Then cut the other 2 to spring in, maybe a couple of thou longer than they need to be. And that's what I did. So I put the end 2 in first, glued them in, and instead of just glue on the bottom, I also glued all around the side of the inlay this time. I don't know if I've got any photos here of it, but it was everywhere, glue everywhere. Then I ran it through the drum sander over there with 60 grit paper. I really had to attack it hard. I tried it with 180, 120. I just went straight to 60 and did the chop. It looked fantastic. Then I took it down to 240 through there, and then I sanded it all up with the down to 4,000 platen. And you know what? How nice. And it would be a pity to bury it. Looks amazing. And then I thought to myself, how about a trick, everyone? So what I've done is, this side was actually going to be the bottom. There was no inlay in this side. I did this after. This is the side I replaced. So this side is Purple Heart. Now I went around with that cutter, as you saw, the 1/4" cutter, and I'll put that down. You'll overdose on beauty. You have to look at me to pull you back down to earth a little bit. So I went around with it, and I found that when I put it back into the CNC, this is an interesting thing you guys might be interested in. I hold things on my CNC spoil board with these things and a couple of dogs. So I get my plastic dogs from Yellow Box Shed, from John, who's not very well at the moment, but looking good further down the track. So what I did was put the dogs in the holes on the bench, and then put these in the same clamps I used. The problem being, these things get what's called witnesses on them. So there'll be a little mark where the clamp activates on, and it's leaves a tiny dent. That's a witness. So I put them in, and it fell into a witness point and didn't pull up as tight. That's what the problem was. So instead of perfectly following, it was about 1 millimeter out at one end. The front, one side was perfect, but the other, so now I had a taper. And there was no way I was going to be able to cut a perfect inlay in a taper over that length. What to do? I took it back into Vectrix software, VCarve or Aspire, and I increased my vector, which is this area that was the outside, like it's a rectangle, is the outside of where the hue and pine was going, by 1.5 millimeters both sides, so 3 millimeters overall. So I put my reference point dead center of the project and clicked on the vector for the triangle, added 3 millimeters to the length and to the width. Do it. Excellent. Then I set it up for a 3/8 compression cutter, an Amana tool compression cutter, and I got to tell you, those cutters are absolutely beautiful. They are my favorites on that machine. So I used that and popped it in, and I was nervous. I got to tell you, I was nervous because I did this beautiful timber. I didn't want to destroy it, and I'm not the world's best CNC operator, not by a long shot. Popped it in, turned it on, and away it went. Cut it out perfectly. So I thought, all right, that's going to be the Purple Heart side. So when you open this box, you've got on the outside, and then you open the box up, and that'll be on the inside of the lid. It's going to be so nice. I love it. But how do you stop it fading? Okay, so the thing is with Purple Heart, it's brown when you cut it. It reacts to ultraviolet light. Okay, this room, believe it or not, there is a truckload of ultraviolet light. I should possibly even wear sunscreen in here. These lights throw out. I set my piece of Purple Heart down the back on the bench. It was all brown. And left it down there for 2 days, and that's the color. Oh, now also all of the offcuts that I've been getting, I've been storing in my roll around timber cart. You remember the one I built on the show a few months back? It's been magic. I love it. All right, let's move on to what we're actually going to. Oh, well, let's have a look at some viewers' projects, and then we'll get stuck into assembling this box. And there's tricks, and I think they're pretty important because this box has got a fair width of timber that way, and if this shrinks or expands, I don't want it to affect the box, and I don't want it to split down the guts. Hence, I've already put 2 coats of oil on this, just in case if it does shrink, I'm not going to end up with a tiny little exposed edge, 3 months down the track from where it shrunk, and there's no finish on it. So there's all sorts of things. I'll tell you all that in a minute. So let's have a look at a viewer's project. All right, so we've got James Finger's project. Let's go into James' project here, and there we go. So what we've got is, "G'day Dave, would you believe this is my first piece of furniture not made for the workshop? It was meant to be a simple plant stand, but came out so nice. It is now a bench seat on our balcony." Let's go to a picture right at the end, and you can see it sitting there. He's done a great job. Now, we went back to the beginning there. That's the pieces of timber ready to go. He said it's made from spotted gum decking and finished in aqua deck. Let me have a look here. "I learnt the hard way the spotted gum and pocket holes are not the best of friends. However, a long 3 millimeter drill bit to create pilot holes brought it together beautifully with no splits. So there's a little tip. If you're doing hardwoods, you can either use the fine screws, which are 7 gauge for Craig screws for hardwood, or you can do what James has done and do a pilot hole for the screw as well. That might work. So there we go. You can see it's putting it all together. He says, quick disclosure, it was a sponsored build for Craig Australia. Well, why not? You can see it going together. And James, your woodworking is coming ahead in leaps and bounds, mate. This looks great. I love the way you've taken the arras, take chamfer off all of the joins there to make them look really, really nice. And there it is hanging out in the garden. That's great, buddy. Back to me. So what do you think about that? A bit of a round of applause. Give him some, down here in the side here, give him some little thumbs ups and all that kind of stuff. And that was that one. And let's, I'm not going to have any time when I start to do this glue up to have a look at the other projects, but let's have a look at that. We've got David Rollins. Dave sent some stuff. Now, also, if you've done a project, and even if it's not up to James's standard, I don't care. Send it in to me. My email address is in the video description box. Slide down through there and send some stuff in to me, and I'll throw it up on the show. So, Dave Rollins, let me have a look here. I need to have a quick drink. Yep, great job. James will be blushing. Dave, you asked us to submit our recent projects that might be of a wider interest. Here's one, my bench grinder stand. The bench grinder has been lying around for some years without a proper home, and hence I really wasn't using it as much as I could. Let's have a look. After completing the Christmas gift projects, I thought I should do some projects to enhance the shed, and this is one that has been waiting a long time. It's inspired by something similar I saw on the World Wide Web, ultimately from Lumberjock site I think in the USA. Construction was from ply that had been lying around or left over from earlier projects. The central column is good 18mm birch ply. The 2 shelves are set in 18mm trenches routed in the sides, and the top and bottom of the centre column were rebated to have 6mm tongues set in trenches in the sides. There is a back of 7mm ply inset in a rebate all around the rear of the column. Now, I forgot to tell you that David is very, very detailed in, let me say that, in all the information he gives me. It's just from what he used to do or what he was doing for a living. He's he's a very, very switched on, intelligent and detail specific man. The base and top are both 16.5mm structural ply, 2 pieces laminated in the base, I should say. I glued a hardwood edge to the top and bottom pieces for appearance and robustness. The pieces I used in the column had already been edged in pine. I finished with 3 coats of satin cabothane. Regards, David. Well, I reckon that's brilliant too. So does that give you any ideas? If you send some stuff into me like this, like David has just done, and also James, it might inspire you to do something the same. It's not that hard. They look really, really nice. Okay, now the last thing that I want, I'm a little bit embarrassed, a bit shy about this, but there's a couple down in Tasmania who watch the show and who are patrons and all that kind of stuff. Now, Russell and Annette Hibbs. And Russell's been watching for a while and he's slowly getting back into woodworking. I think I've ignited his passion in doing this kind of stuff. And Annette, to show her appreciation, has sent me some paintings. Can you believe it? She's actually frozen some videos. And thank heavens, mostly the paintings are of Barry. And there's one of me as well. I'll grab them. You'll be absolutely amazed. Here we go. She's a budding artist. And here's the first one of Barry. How cool is that? He's a bit hairier in the painting than I remember him being, but I think that's fantastic. What do you reckon? Okay. Now, the next painting, let's have a look. Now, we'll leave that one. There, we'll leave that one till last. And here's another one, and that could even be the new dog. I think that is. What do you reckon? I think that's Baroness. That is a bloody good painting, Annette. That is so good. Don't you reckon? That is such a likeness to Baroness. All right. Okay. I should see if I can leave them there for you to look at. Will that work? That might work. All right. Now this one it's not bad, but I think Annette, you kind of just missed out on my eyes a little bit. But that's from a while back. I'll tell you what. It's the same bloke, is it? That's 5 years ago, I think. Oh dear. There we go. I am absolutely over the moon with these. That's so considerate of you to do that. Who would have thought? There you go. I'm going to have to put these up. Same bloke, you reckon, David? I'm going to hide him away quickly. But thank you so much, Annette. That's absolutely beautiful. And it all came beautiful bubble wrap packing. Oh, it's even got one of the king parrots. I didn't even see that. See, there's a king parrot on my shoulder here. That's lovely. It's from 10 years ago, I think. That's why I look younger. Oh, dear. Annette, thank you so much. Now, I've sent down a couple of Patreon mugs. I've sent 2 down to you, Annette. So one for you and one for Russell. All right? Don't let him say they're all his. But that's beautiful. All right. Moving on. We've still got 25 minutes in this show. I'm so glad that I've been able to move along. I wanted to leave myself a bit of time so I didn't rush at the end, because this is an issue. If I rush, I don't want to stuff it up. I've prepared a whole lot of stuff. And also, if your first name is actually Tony, you're in with a good chance of winning the Festool backpack, wherever it is. It's in here somewhere. I hope I can find it again. I think I'll probably put it up in the office. Otherwise, I'll have to send my own one down. Not to worry, not to worry. Move a few things out of the way. Now, I do also have Carl Cam up above, and we might be using that a bit today. You'll see here, this is the base of the drawer. Now, this is plywood, very stable. It's not going to expand and contract, so it's not going to concern me. Timber, ordinarily, timber does not shrink along the grain. Timber only expands and contracts across the grain, ordinarily. Now, I'll tell you that I have had some weatherboards that I've used, cypress pine weatherboards, 5 meters long. They have shrunk by around 3/16 of an inch. So it's around 5 millimeters or just under. So it's not a situation where it doesn't shrink along there, but it's far less likely to. Now, I've put this tape here. When I've dry fitted this box many times, put it together. You want to be Tony now, Tiffo. So what I've done is I put it together with this inside it, and then I taped one side, and then I put pencil marks in the corners as to where the box had pulled up nice and tight. So I used a couple of clamps just to pull it, nip it up. And then also, while I had the box assembled, without the lid in it, I got a sanding block and some sandpaper, and I went around the top edge and sanded an arris right the way around. Now, the reason I did it while it was assembled was because in the corners at the top, you don't want to sand this last part. You want the sanding line to come along and then down the other area where it connects on. So that's why I put it all together dry, sanded it all with that in, and then pulled it apart. And now you can see also I've got tape on down here. So when I close this box up today and glue it together, I'm a little bit panicky about it, but it will be fine. There can only be one Tony. So I think there's a few. When I close it up, I'm not going to be able to get in there and clean the glue off. So that's why I've got the tape here to be my friend. Also, the glue is not going to stick to this oiled finish. Isn't that just beautiful, hey? I love it. All right. This box lid's got to be worth a couple of thumbs up and a couple of subscriptions. What do you reckon? If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do right now. Just click the subscribe button, ring that little bell as well, which will give you push notifications when I do another video. And the thumbs up, it's just feeds my ego. What can I say? All right. We have the last part of the box here. Now, all of the inside of the box I've sanded to 4000 grade grit platen. Okay, so Hugh, have a look back through the beginning of the video when I've finished, and I've covered it all. I'm not going to go over it all again. All right, so it has the legs the same way that Cole showed us how to do it. Cole has been fantastic. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been ballsy enough to do this. So that's done. The base is done. Everything that I can't see once the thing's closed up, I've done tape on it, except for the lid, which isn't going to have glue. I'm going to do something else. All right, let me get the glue. I'm going to use the Type Bond 3. I use Type Bond, well, it doesn't really matter. It's PVA glue I'm going to use. Brand doesn't really matter. The reason I'm using the green one is it's got a longer working time, just a little bit. And it's a darker glue. So it's actually going to show the joins a little bit. It's like putting a black line around a photo. It can enhance it. And that's the kind of thing I'm after. All right. Let's go to Cargill. Okay, I wasn't wanting to be rude at all, Hugh. It's just I want to do this glue up, and I haven't really got time to go back through everything. Maybe I missed it, but which oil finished? I use Liberon. So Liberon finishing oil is what I use. And look, I may even do a video on how I built this box. And I might just do a brand new box and go through the processes. Okay, the response is much quicker. I like this. David, I use Type Bond 3 because I buy from work. You know, so that's what's on the shelf there for me. A lot of people on YouTube use it. That Type Bond doesn't sponsor me at all. If you do want to buy this online and you use my affiliate link in the description box below the video for Carbotech, just click on that Carbotech link that I put down there, and you'll go into the store, you know, online, make some purchases, and the show gets a consideration. It's basically a spotter's fee. That's what makes me interested. Yeah, staff discount as well, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so all of the inside is sanded, ready to go. The lid's finished. Let's do it. Let's do it. Go to Cargill. And I have expanded the size of the video up, so hopefully it's going to work. Radio Toto. I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to work from one side only at this stage. This is the bottom. I know that because it's got the legs. I also want to have a look at the back so I know where to put that into. So that is D, that is B. So I think that one is going to go with that. And see how the grain is continual? That's because I book matched this out of one piece, opened it up, flipped her over, and then this is now the outside. This one is going to go here. And see, it's the continuation again. This is so nice. Okay, I'm going to get a brush. I'm going to see if I've got a paintbrush here. I may not have a paintbrush. I'll have to use a silicone brush. I'll bring a couple of these things down as well. Some clamps ready. Ready, set, go, all that kind of stuff. All right, I'll use one of these. I was going to use an ordinary paintbrush, but I'll go with the silicone brush at the moment. The main reason is it's got these little kind of paddle things on the end. so I can paste it onto the dovetails really well. Rightio. Scary bears. Turn those over. So that's going to go onto there. Glue. All right. I can't hang around too long doing this because as soon as you start putting the glue on, it's going to start swelling the timber. It's moisture. That's all there is to it. And it doesn't matter if I get glue on the outside of the box. It's just the inside I've got to be very careful with. That's looking pretty good. A little bit there. No, it doesn't need it out there. Of course it doesn't. When that is going to go into there, so we need a little bit here. The glue will actually push along as I put it together. So I'm going to slide that one in to there. Over the edge a touch. Why is that starting to muck around? Yep. ABC, yes, that's correct. Ah, there we go. That's got it. Ha ha! Beautiful. That's going to be a really nice joint. Okay, the other end. And this one will be this way, feet here, feet and feet. And that will go into there, yes. So we'll see how that, it just swells that little bit, and what used to be just an easy push fit became something that I thought, oh, I've got to give this a little bit of effort. I should have really put some baking paper onto my bench prior to this, but because I waxed it, it's not going to be such an issue. This one. So I'm not going to be reading the chat too much while I'm doing this part. All right, so that is going to go that way, which means these inside ones need a tiny little bit of glue as well. I'm not going to go over the top. Beautiful. Nice, nice. Now this is the bottom, remember. So what I want to do now is I'm going to glue the ply in. I'm going to put a strip along there, and a little bit in there as well. Possibly favouring the bottom. Get rid of that. Bit of a mistake there, not to worry. That's all good. And then pour a little bit in here. I don't think we're going to need a lot here. Just to stop it moving. Maybe maybe just a bit on the... This is where a paintbrush would have been handy, like a very small art style paintbrush. Cool, I can get that with a little bit of sandpaper at the end. Now the trick is this stuff, silicon. Normally silicon is a woodworker's enemy. Just checking everything's good there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put silicon in here, which is where the lid is going to go in. And that will allow it to move. But it will also hold it steady. One of those things. So I did a bit of preparation yesterday. I made sure I bought a small one of these guys. And I'm going to put it in here. Instead of getting a big tube of silicon, which I would have very little chance of controlling properly, I'm going to cut that nozzle just a little bit more. Just to allow a bit more flow. That's better. Careful not to get it on the inside of the box. And down here. I don't really need to have a full bead. Just a bit here and there. And that's good. Now, I need to put the ply in here. And this is the bottom. This is the inside. So I'm going to just spread the sides just a touch and slide this in. I have allowed a little bit of movement. And that's going down there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Now I can pull that in a little. Actually, leave it out, David. Leave it out because I've got to put the other panel in. Top panel. Exciting. Here we go. Top panicle. Oh, panicle? What's a panicle, David? Come on. Down we go, slowly. Until we come down to the base. Done? Done. I can pull this in now, like so. All right. Now what I've got to do is put some glue on these, but I'm not going to glue the tails. I'm going to glue... I've got to find it. Where do I put it? Oh, there it is. It's in the front. Why didn't you tell me? I'm going to move that over there. Go back to the other camera. We've still got 7 minutes left. I'm going to finish this. How good is this? I'll get it done. I'll get it done. You can look at this whilst... Isn't it amazing? Are you going, Eb? Kids have been glued to the screen for half an hour watching I've got to go, though, on the move. See you later, sweetie. I dropped down and saw them during the week. Oh, sorry, last week. Down at Albury. Week before, I should say. This is the really tricky bit. Okay, thank you. A little bit of glue here. Oh, not too much, David. Oh, work from the other side. Yeah, work from the outside for this, I think. And just spread it straight away so that it's not going to want to run. Flip her over. So I'm just using the glue that's built up on the applicator here. Oh, this is nice. This is nice. And just a little bit there, there, there. From the outside, as I was saying before. Oh, I don't know if I've got the room. Yeah, that'll be fine. And remember, we've got the tape there to save us. And this is the inside, so I need glue there. This is why I wanted something with a longer open time. The Type Bond 1, the original, dries a whole lot quicker than the 3. Right, the other end. From the outside, of course. Oh, thank heavens it got the outside there. Right, and this side. And a little bit across the end grain there. So I'm using gravity as my friend here. It's running down the inside of the dovetails where the pins are going to go and going to the base. So now I can just spread it across the base of where the pins will be. Now do the inside. Just a tiny bit more. Yeah, what a painting. Thank you so much, Annette. That's so thoughtful of you. Amazing. I don't know why some people, I don't know why. Anyway, that's lovely. Now, the other thing I need to do is I need to make sure that I've got some glue on here and some silicone on here. So I'm going to do that next. Putting it down where it's not going to affect anything. And we'll go to Cargill again. Glue on the plywood and silicone on the finished timber. That'll be enough. I'll spread that out. Oh, this is so much fun. Brush. Not too much. Now, whilst I've got the glue in my hand, I will also put a little bit here as well. And down here, but not getting it onto that. All right, silicone, and we're in the final straight. Now, I'm not going to do all the way along. I'm going to put some dobs. This was Colin's idea. He said, don't do it all the way along everywhere. Just put some dabs. That'll stop the lid rattling. And because the tolerances that I've done on the lid are the groove, the dado that I've created in this is smaller. So let me put this together now, and then we'll put a clamp on it just to pull it up at the end. Making sure that the dados are going to work. I think they are. See the glue coming out of the top? That's looking pretty cool. And now I'm going to put the clamps on. Just pull the tops for the moment. These clamps are brilliant. Now, because this is, actually release that and go up to here. So I've got a nice tight joint there. I can pull those and leave them on because I'm not actually over the pin. See that? I'll switch to the other camera so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So the pin, let me have a look down there, I'm not affecting. Well, I'm just touching it on that one, so I have to lift that up a touch. That's better. Now am I getting it on this side? No, I'm not. Beautiful. All right, now I can flip it upside down and leave it like that, and I'll get some more clamps, and I'm going to pull the bottom in tight. Again, I'm not on the pins. Well, I'm glad I've done this because it wasn't pulled in. This is basically just to pull it up while it's going to go off. If I'm looking a little bit weird while I'm looking around, it's because I need to make sure that I've got it in the right spot. So I was on that pin, which was stopping it pulling it in tight. And then I'm going to put another clamp on there just to nip it in a second. And then this end. Beautiful, that's got that. Now I've got to pull it in the center. And then I've got to check for square. Now I've got the square here. I have to show you. Carl cam. You're not going to get better than that. And then over the back and down this side. Or we could do just a little bit of a, just a bit of a sneak. A little bit more of a sneak. Perfect. This side, too far, Dave. That's good. I've halved it. For some reason, I'm slightly out. Now I need to clamp here and here. I'll show you why. I'll move the camera around to the end. We're nearly done. We're nearly there. I'll just switch the camera around. Yeah, I took the orange guard off on purpose. Camera 3. If you can see, I've got a little gap over there. You may not see it, but I can see it. It's, you know, it's glaring at me. Now to pull that up, I'm going to have to use another clamp. That one's not going to do it because it's a parallel clamp. I need to actually have some hook around like these guys have got. Let's see what I've got. I should have some more clamps here. Too short. Okay, I've got a couple of deep throat clamps here. These will do it. They've got a tiny lip here, which will allow it to go in past the end of the tail. I just want to pull it up. See the glue? I saw it. I knew it was there. I'm going to leave that there for the moment. I'm going to do the same at the other end. I'm not going to be leaving these on it. down a touch. And that's pulled it in lovely. So you reckon it was a little skew? All right, go to the main camera again. I'll measure the diagonals. I should be right. I have that over the bloody diagonal, don't I? Well, 56. 56. It's perfect. Okay, what do we got here? Good night from the Netherlands. Stay safe. Keep Dave. If you think this is impressive, you should see Dave play the tongue drum. Yeah, they are, but you know, it's just so is a car, David. It's just one of those things. If you need to have it for a particular time, well, then you need it. Just looked. It could just be the angle of the camera. Would hate to see a corner proud. Yep. Okay, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to undo this again and see if it actually pulls away or leaves it there. I'm going to take it off. You know why? Because, tighten that up just a touch, because I don't want it deforming the corner. So I want the box to have straight edges. I don't want it doing this because I can put an awful lot of exertion with these clamps. Now they only have to stay on for half an hour. So my patrons will be able to see it. Now who won the backpack? That's what everyone's wondering, isn't it? Okay, John, you'll be able to see me take the clamps off and we'll have a bit of a look at it. Now next week, or during the week, I'm going to basically finish this box ready to cut it open. So what that means is I will sand all of these corners beautifully. I may even put a round down each of these corners to make it look like it's a really sexy dovetail. But that's what I'm going to do next week. And if I can think of something else during the week, I may try and get some hinges for it, and we might be able to put the lid on as well. But make sure come back next week and have a watch, because it's a bit of fun. You might watch me stuff it totally up, and if that floats your boat, well, good on you. The winner of the backpack. Now, you know how I told everyone it was Tony? It's not. Well, sorry, it is. It's Tony. Tony Davies. Tony Davies, you are the winner of the backpack, the Festival backpack, and they're a bloody good backpack. I've had one for about 5 years, and it's brilliant. All right, that's the lot. That's the lot. I hope you enjoyed the show, guys. Look after yourselves, be nice to each other, and thank you so much again to all of my patrons. Let's read out their names because I can. Johannes Mohr, John Parra, Vincent Ngian, John Lafferty, Peter Woolworth, Brian Del Vecchio, Justin Bailey, Brett Guthrie, Mike Deam, Wayne Cargill, and John Lynch. Thank you so much. If you want your names added to this list, that helps me keep on doing this stuff, because this is my Sunday. I could be out having a fun time, but I choose to be in here. Jump into my Patreon channel and subscribe. There's links in the description down the bottom for Patreon. And again, thanks for watching. Look after yourselves, be nice to each other, and I shall see you next week. Bye.